2026 provides an opportunity to deliver even more progressive wins this November. Join us this summer ahead of the midterms by investing in the Progress Texas Summer Sustaining Donor Drive, funding pro-democracy, pro-justice, progressive messaging made by Texans for Texans. At Progress Texas, we're asking our supporters to become monthly donors, and for those already on the team, to increase their monthly support. Because with your partnership, we can get the message out across Texas in this critical year. We'll thank you with perks for progress. Choose from our exclusive Resist coffee mug, a Progress Texas summer koozie, or a progressive button pack. Plus, you'll get a shout out on the Daily Dispatch. Thanks in advance for doing your part to build the progressive Texas we all want to live in today.
Austin Kaplan. I'm an employment and civil rights attorney at Kaplan Law Firm. We've got to move this state forward, and Progress Texas is the group to make it happen and get the message out. Let's unionize some workplaces and let's get everything we're entitled to.
It's Tuesday, August 4th, 2026, and this is the Progress Texas Daily Dispatch, rapid response on the breaking news stories Texas progressives need to know. I'm Chris Mosier. Progress Texas amplifies progressive values, leaders, and actions. Through our no paywall podcasts and digital media, we reach millions of Texans monthly, and that's made possible by folks like you who invest in independent progressive media by Texans for Texans. We can't do what we do without your support. Huge thanks to Gene Robinson, David Santucci, and Eric Hart for their ongoing sustaining partnership. Much appreciated. Unless you're one of our early bird listeners, and we have a bunch of those, could be by the time you hear this that the big vote scheduled for 10 a.m. this Tuesday in Fort Worth at the Tarrant County Commissioner's Court may have already gone down. Miranda Suarez and Penelope Rivera at KERA in Dallas say that Republican-controlled body is moving to slash Election Day polling locations across Fort Worth, Arlington, the HEB, and more by 45%, reducing sites from 316 to just 176, ahead of the looming high-stakes and expectedly high turnout November midterm general election. While Tarrant County Judge Tim O'Hare is lamely citing cost savings and strict equipment storage requirements as justification for quite literally pulling the plug on almost half of the voting opportunities in his county at a moment when his party is looking to take a major blow. In a characteristically scathing analysis, Michelle Davis at Lone Star Left outlines the way that these targeted Republican closures are a part of a calculated effort to suppress voter turnout, specifically among the marginalized communities across Tarrant County, plainly disproportionately targeting Black, Latino, and student neighborhoods. Key locations marked for elimination include the Maverick Activities Center at UT Arlington, Tarrant County College South Campus, Southwestern Baptist Theological Seminary, and vital neighborhood hubs like the Southside Everman and Forest Hill centers. Removing polling locations from diverse college campuses and historically Black and brown neighborhoods creates severe physical and logistical barriers to the ballot box in areas where economic limitations directly translate into mobility and transit limitations. Much of this feels like deja vu all over again for those paying attention to Tim O'Hare's exploits of late. He's also fond of pulling the plug on programs serving Black and Hispanic youth around the Fort Worth area, and went all in on the racial gerrymandering effort in Tarrant County that served as a dry run for the statewide congressional redistricting that immediately followed. The desperate Republican strategy to disenfranchise non-white voters in rapidly diversifying and increasingly competitive Tarrant County, our state's most storied bellwether area, is indeed a preview of things to come across the state and across other red states ahead of November as well. See Michelle's Substack. Great analysis as always. That link is in the show notes. Governor Greg Abbott continues his performative but largely empty election year campaign against the wave of resource-gobbling data centers that he helped enable. Lana Ferguson at the Dallas Morning News says the governor has ordered state regulators at the PUC and ERCOT to audit all proposed data center projects attempting to connect to the Texas power grid, and progress is halted on those new builds until developers disclose details regarding energy and water consumption, tax breaks, and ownership. All of this is temporary, and all of this is theater. The fact is that the legal constraints on data centers are a matter of legislation, and a temporary pause to shuffle the papers isn't going to make a real lasting difference. Nothing short of a special session to actually change regulations around data centers will matter when the green light is ultimately still green. Governor Abbott is in a full wild-eyed scramble to withstand the massive and justified backlash over the catastrophic resource strain that data centers represent to communities across Texas, an impact that he has personally encouraged. This pause is temporary and means nothing in the long run. Abbott's goal is to clear a significant political hurdle. Once reelected, Greg Abbott will turn away from this problem, pocket the proceeds, and leave the locals to suffer on their own. Another technological terror that Texans across the political spectrum have been rising up against lately is the dramatic proliferation of flock safety license plate surveillance cameras across Texas. Sam Shaw at the Texas Tribune says an increasingly fierce battle over digital civil liberties and state surveillance is building over these things, which in Texas have been placed along public roads by both local police departments and Texas DPS. When you drive by one, it automatically logs your license plate number, vehicle color, model, and unique features like dents or bumper stickers into a massive national database. Law enforcement agencies can then search this vast web of location data instantly and across jurisdictional lines without ever obtaining a warrant. This is the same surveillance system that the Johnson County Sheriff's Department was caught using last fall in an attempt to track down a woman suspected of having had an abortion. Just a single preview of the severe, unchecked government and law enforcement overreach that flock cameras enable. The system is not only intrusive, it's also unreliable. False positive misidentifications have already led to wrongful high-risk traffic stops, systemic stalking of the wrong people by police officers, and, of course, the sharing of location data on suspected undocumented people between local police and ICE. Similar to what we're seeing in the recent response to data centers, the already mounting abuse of the flock camera system has sparked a bipartisan resistance movement. New federal legislation requiring warrants for access has been proposed. Dozens of cities in talks with flock have backed out amidst the backlash, and a growing number of frustrated citizens have begun physically vandalizing these cameras. Texas DPS, by the way, has promised an aggressive response on that front. As things stand, the way we see it, your basic Fourth Amendment protection against unreasonable searches by the government is being violated every time you drive or walk near a flock camera. Also very much across party lines, Texas social media remains abuzz about the new shift in hemp-based THC consumables that can now land you in the clink, and the issue has made the Senate race. Andrew Schneider at Texas Public Media says Democratic nominee James Tallarico has forcefully denounced the ban as an overreaching nanny state tactic that threatens legitimate small businesses and effectively hands the cannabis market back to criminal cartels. Conversely, Republican nominee Attorney General Ken Paxton has been pretty quiet about it, but he's long championed strict anti-cannabis enforcement, having personally aggressively sued Texas cities who dare to attempt decriminalization measures. We shouldn't have to say this out loud, but Ken Paxton in the Senate would not be good for fans of the herb, regardless of their politics. David Martin Davies at Texas Public Radio focuses on the customers of Texas shops who were buying a perfectly legal product just this last Thursday. He notes that the new ban exposes everyday Texans to severe criminal risk. In particular, the San Antonio Police Department is cracking down. They've announced plans to pursue and prosecute possession of these previously legal products as full felony cases. Davies also sends this note of caution: even more complicated rules about cannabis products will be difficult for the public, the police, and even retailers to keep straight, which means we can't just assume a hemp or THC product is legal simply because we see it on a store shelf. Caveat emptor, boys and girls. And finally, y'all, the latest bullshit from Joe Rogan. Stephanie Coython at the San Antonio Current says the Austin transplant podcaster is now urging the voters in his audience not to turn Texas blue, claiming that iron-fisted conservative rule is necessary to maintain political balance. And a bit of a Freudian slip here, as Rogan rationalized his point by comparing Republicans to ecological predators, whose presence is required to control the spread of progressive ideas and people. The irony here is rich. Framing right-wing governance as a predatory necessity is a full admission of the inherently destructive and aggressive nature of the right-wing establishment. It's not surprising at all that Joe Rogan didn't think that one through before he said it, though. To this day, the only episode of Rogan's world-famous podcast that I've managed to finish is the one featuring James Tallarico, which on one hand did help Tallarico reach new audiences beyond the misty and opaque barriers of the manosphere, which is great. But it also surprised me in Rogan's clearly shallow understanding of Texas politics and ignorance of pretty basic political thought around here. And let me be clear, I consider myself on my own learning curve when it comes to this stuff, and I've been lucky to have surrounded myself with a bunch of people much smarter than I am, but it's amazing and discouraging that such a massive and malleable audience is plugged into a guy whose own grasp of what he's talking about is so clearly and demonstrably flawed. It's just another part of what we're all up against, and we thank you, dear listener, for being on the right side. This election year, you can support the real free press by investing in pro-democracy, pro-justice, progressive storytelling delivered by Texans for Texans. Join Progress Texas this summer ahead of the midterms and become a monthly donor today or increase your giving during our summer-sustaining donor drive. With your partnership, we can reach more independents, progressives, and young voters who must be mobilized to win elections this fall. And we'll thank you with Perks for Progress, your choice from our exclusive Resist coffee mug, a sweet Progress Texas summer koozie, and a progressive button pack. Plus, you'll get a shout out right here on the Daily Dispatch. See the link in the show notes or hit progresstexas.org to join the family during our summer sustaining donor drive. That's the Progress Texas Daily Dispatch for this Tuesday, August 4th, 2026. Links to all these original stories can be found in our show notes. Learn more about what we do and how you can get involved at progresstexas.org. I'm Chris Mosier. Thanks for listening. Have a terrific day. We'll see you again right here tomorrow morning.